عذرا، هناك خطأ في قائمة المتحدثين.
Of the speakers, the coming speaker is Singapore. We would like to welcome the delegation of Lebanon. It's a friendly state, and we evaluate the work of the state and the development that Lebanon made on different levels, and what they did on the special needs efforts, and to develop the less fortunate group like women, elderly and children. First, continue their work to improve the economic situation and the strategic national work and the social obligation development, and to create independence for the youth through providing services from the social community and support for the elderly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy of the Bangladeshi President. We welcome the delegation of Lebanon. We are affirming of the challenges and the social challenges that Lebanon did live during the past years, and which highlighted and was having its implication on the human rights, and we should evaluate the economic and social and cultural rights, as we are talking about education and health and the good social living, and providing services from health services and water and social help, and reduce poverty. Third, increase the efforts to any discrimination for women, and fourth, agreeing on the agreement for the immigrants and their families. And we wish the best of luck for Lebanon. And thank you, Ms. Deputy. And I give the speech for the Deputy, the representative of Belgium. Thank you. We thank the Lebanese delegation for this statement, and we hail the efforts by Lebanon and its consultative agreement in 2025 and the developing effort, and we support Lebanon first to increase the minimum age for the criminal responsibility according to the international standards, and have a system for the labor law according to the benefit of the children, and to have the framework of law to stop and face all form of violence and AI and technological violence, and to protect the victims. And this is related about lessen the punishment, the capital punishment. I hailed the offer by the Lebanese delegation and the efforts to increase the efforts for improving the social standards for the citizen, and we hailed the measures taken by the government of Lebanon to make the recommendation come true, and we hail the human rights efforts and the strategy for protection of social standards. And our state is recommending increasing the efforts for human trafficking and protect the rights of the victims and punish the responsible, and take more measures to fight the role of more effort to face poverty and increase the standard of living. Thank you. I give the speech to Brunei. I thank you, Deputy President. We welcome the Lebanese delegation here in Geneva, and we thank them for their report. And we hail the efforts exerted by Lebanon to have the human rights obligation in spite of the challenges. So they should start a strategy. They started a strategy in 2024 to improve the social standard, and with support we recommend increasing the principles for fighting poverty and to increase the effort which lead to the inclusive of the citizen, and to continue the effort to empower women, especially by the efforts to increase the job offer for women. We thank you so much, and we wish the best for Lebanon. Thank you. We give the speech for Bulgaria. Thank you. Bulgaria is welcome the Lebanese delegation, and we appreciate, in spite of the challenges politically and socially and its repercussions, Lebanon is enabling its institutions and its work on human rights. Lebanon approved the recommendation for the people with special needs and the rights of children, and Bulgaria is recommending Lebanon the following. First, to put protection protocols for the journalists, which is in parallel of the human standard, the international standard, with the UN principle for the preserving and protection of the journalists according to the UNESCO, and exerting more effort to protect the human rights mechanism and protection to enable the institution in a technical mean. And third, to provide a good condition for putting at least 1 year for pre-education to be for free. Thank you. We give the speech for Burkina Faso. Thank you for the Deputy President. The Burkina Faso delegation is hailing the Lebanese delegation for the national report. And we said that Lebanon is having a great effort to improve the human rights condition, and we hail the efforts exerted to protect the immigrant workers in the houses from the violence and the bad treatment, and we hail the approving of the agreement for the special needs protocol, and we would like Lebanon to continue their work, and we recommend the following: the approval of the international agreement to protect the labor workers for immigration, and increase the work and effort to the human rights work and the mechanism for this, and we wish the best for Lebanon. Thank you. And we give the speech for the Deputy of Cameroon. Thank you, Ms. Deputy. As Cameroon is thanking Lebanon for their reports and resuming their institutional work and their work to improve the development in spite of all the challenges on the different levels. We are also happy for the efforts exerted for human rights work.
بالإضافة إلى التعاون المتواصل مع آليات حقوق الإنسان، وبروح من الحوار البناء فإن الكاميرون توصي بما يلي: أولا، مضاعفة الجهود من أجل مكافحة كل أشكال التمييز خاصة
for against any discrimination as it is against the immigrant, and increase the work for justice and law, especially through increasing the judicial work. And Cameroon wish Lebanon all the best. Thank you. And I give the speech for the Deputy of Dominican Republic. Thank you, Ms. Deputy President. We are honored to be member of the Troika in this statement with our members, colleagues. We thank the efforts in the human rights field to reach justice. In light of the productive dialogue, we recommend increasing the work to protect the human trafficking and fight this phenomenon, and to develop this work with the other states and continue work in this domain to enable their independence. And third, to deepen the independence of the judicial system, to create unbiased agreements, and we continue the work with Lebanon in their work in respect for their efforts. Thank you so much. We give the speech for Chile. Thank you, Ms. Deputy President. Chile is welcoming the Lebanese agreement for the people with special need and the protocol which is related, and with dialogue there are our recommendation. First, agreeing on the agreement of protecting all personnel from being vanished and forcibly, and protection of human rights and enabling there from all liberal sides, and to approve the visits by the committees for forceful vanishing and to set the age of 18 as the minimum age for getting married, and continuing the efforts of the early marriage. We wish the best for Lebanon. Thank you. I give the speech to the representative of China. Ms. Deputy President, so China is welcoming the Lebanese effort, and we held their efforts in fulfilling the strategy for human rights and the most vulnerable community. We recommend continuing the work of effort to decrease poverty and social protection and improve the health protection to be inclusive, as well as education, protecting the rights of women and the less vulnerable people, and fight human trafficking. Thank you very much. Thank you. We give the speech to Colombia. Thank you, Ms. Deputy. Colombia is welcoming the Lebanese delegation in that fourth round of the dialogue. We recommend the following: to join the agreement against non-national and the protection of the children, especially in the time of crises and wars, and having a legislation to fight in Lebanon and continue our work. Fourth, having the agreement to fight all sorts of discrimination against women, and increase the efforts to develop the help for psychology and health and productive for women. And we give the speech for Costa Rica. Thank you, Deputy President. As Costa Rica is thanking the Lebanese delegation for the report, and we hail the efforts exerted by Lebanon to meet the recommendation. We recommend the following: increase the effort to protect the judicial system and its independence, and to work on being keen that all the judicial laws, especially for the underage, and to have the right of the underage, the delinquent, especially from the refugees, and the forceful movement, and have strategy for increase the capability of full education and focusing on the refugees and the less vulnerable. And thank for this acceptance of the recommendation. We give the speech for Côte d'Ivoire. We thank you, Ms. Deputy. Côte d'Ivoire is welcoming the welcoming of Lebanon, and we thank them for the national report, as the delegation is hailing the effort exerted by Lebanon for increasing the work on the social protection and specialization for funding for the people who are having a disability, for the people who are living with disabilities, with a strategy to protect women and children, as my country is encouraging the Lebanese state for fighting the hate speech and discrimination against the immigrant and the refugees, and we recommend the following: and the containment system, and accept the international agreement for protection of all the labor and their families.
Protection of all persons against enforced disappearance. Côte d'Ivoire wishes every success to the delegation of Lebanon in this review. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Croatia.
Microphone.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Croatia welcomes the delegation of Lebanon and expresses its appreciation for their participation in the UPR process. We welcome the efforts to improve the institutional and policy framework aimed at accelerating and elimination of discrimination against women and promoting gender equality, and encourage its full implementation. Croatia recommends the following: 1. Ratify the second optional protocol to the ICCPR and abolish the death penalty. 2. Ensure survivor-centered services and support for the victims of gender-based violence, including legal aid, shelters, healthcare, and psychosocial support without any discrimination. 3. Fully operationalize the national preventive mechanism on torture, including by allocating sufficient financial and other resources, and ensure independent investigation of all incidents of torture and ill treatment. Croatia wishes Lebanon a successful review session. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Cuba.
Señora Vicepresidenta.
Vice President, we warmly welcome the delegation of Lebanon under the Minister for Social Affairs, and we recognize the country's commitment to the UPR. We note national efforts to draw up a guide for detection and follow-up for trafficking victims, and we emphasized the adoption last year of the National Strategy for Social Protection to fulfill social protection programs for different stages of citizens' lives. In a constructive spirit, we recommend 1. Continuing to implement the national program for support to families in need, to continue to provide the relevant resources, and we wish every success to Lebanon in this review and in implementation of the recommendations. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Cyprus.
Madam Vice President, Cyprus warmly welcomes the delegation of Lebanon and thanks it for the presentation of its report. We acknowledge the severe and compounding crisis the country has faced in recent years, as well as the determination shown to preserve the essential functioning and social cohesion of the state under extraordinary strain. In this context, we welcome significant steps taken towards strengthening Lebanon's justice system, the adoption of the 2026 to 2030 National Human Rights Plan, as well as the National Strategy for Women 2022 to 2030 and its corresponding action plan. Cyprus recommends to Lebanon: 1. Consider amending its legislation to criminalize marital rape and remove any exclusion from the criminal definition of rape. 2. Develop a comprehensive national action plan to address all forms of child labor and raise the minimum working age to 15. 3. Continue efforts to fully operationalize the National Commission for Missing and Forcibly Disappeared Persons. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Czechia.
Merci, Madame la Vice-Présidente.
Thank you.
Czechia welcomes the delegation of Lebanon. We take positive note of the draft amendment to the Media Act as well as of the efforts towards the abolishment of death penalty. We would like to recommend that Lebanon 1. Ensure a safe, stable and enabling environment for all civil society stakeholders, including human rights defenders, lawyers and journalists, notably in the context of upcoming elections to ensure participation in public and political life for all. 2. Introduce legislation to ensure equal treatment of women in case of marriage, inheritance, divorce and custody and nationality of their children. Establish a minimum age for marriage at the national level. And 3. Decriminalize same-sex relations and non-conforming gender identities and expression and guarantee the right to freedom of peaceful assembly for all. Czechia wishes Lebanon a successful review. I thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Denmark.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Denmark welcomes the delegation of Lebanon. We acknowledge steps taken toward judicial independence and strengthening of the National Human Rights Commission and the National Preventive Mechanism against Torture, while we emphasize the need for further steps in this regard. Moreover, we are concerned that religious court systems allow for discrimination, undermining principles of equality and dignity. Denmark therefore recommends Lebanon to 1. Ensure that the National Human Rights Commission, including the National Preventive Mechanism against Torture, is granted full, unhindered and regular access to all places of deprivation of liberty. And 2. Adopt a unified civil personal status law to ensure equal rights in family matters, regardless of religion or gender. Denmark wishes Lebanon a successful review. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Djibouti by video message.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Djibouti welcomes the high-level delegation and thanks it for presenting its national report. We welcome the efforts by Lebanon's authorities to provide a participatory process. The interpreters apologize. The sound quality is not very good. We wish to recommend the following: continue efforts to combat through awareness campaigns against domestic violence. The interpreters apologize. The sound quality is not adequate for accurate interpretation.
Contre la traite des personnes, adopter des mesures efficaces pour poursuivre pénalement les trafiquants et accorder une attention particulière à la prévention ainsi qu'à la protection des victimes, en particulier les travailleurs domestiques migrants. Enfin, Djibouti souhaite plein succès au Liban dans la conduite de son examen. Je vous remercie.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on the representative of Canada.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Canada thanks Lebanon for participating in this Universal Periodic Review and for its continued commitment to strengthening the protection of human rights amid ongoing domestic challenges. Canada recommends that Lebanon, 1. Adopt comprehensive protections against discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, including the repeal of Article 534 of the Penal Code. 2. Restrict military court jurisdiction and reform Articles 24 and 27 of the Military Justice Code to prohibit trials of civilians before military courts. 3. Abolish criminal defamation and other related Penal Code provisions, including Articles 292, 383 to 386, 388, 398, 474, 582, and 584 of the Penal Code to protect freedom of expression and media. 4. Fully implement the National Social Protection Strategy and allocate funding to guarantee affordable, non-discriminatory basic public services. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Ecuador.
Señora Vicepresidenta.
Vice President, Ecuador warmly welcomes the delegation of Lebanon and thanks it for presenting its report. We note the measures adopted to promote inclusion and social protection for persons with disabilities. In a constructive spirit, we recommend 1. Ratifying the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on children in armed conflict. 2. Adopt a comprehensive legislative framework prohibiting all forms of discrimination, and in particular racial discrimination, and that based on nationality, gender, religion or origin. 3. Fully guarantee freedom of expression and freedom of the press, protecting journalists and media workers from intimidation, harassment and violence. We wish Lebanon every success in the UPR. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on the United Arab Emirates.
Madam Vice President, we welcome the delegation of Lebanon and would like to thank them for the presentation of the national report, and we commend the efforts made in protecting and promoting human rights. We also commend the national strategy for human rights for 2026 until 2030. And in this context, we recommend the following. 1, to take more measures in order to promote human rights through awareness raising and programs. Also to continue efforts in order to combat human trafficking through developing relevant legislative frameworks. In closing, we wish Lebanon every success. Thank you.
Merci. Je donne la parole à la...
Thank you. I call on Eritrea.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We warmly welcome the distinguished delegation of the Republic of Lebanon. We commend Lebanon for the significant efforts undertaken to address challenges risen by the economic crisis and damages caused by the war in 2024. And with that in mind, we humbly recommend the following. 1, to continue efforts to mitigate the impact of the financial crisis on the health sector, with particular attention to ensuring equitable access to essential health services for vulnerable groups, including the elderly and migrant workers. 2, enhance targeted social assistance programs to protect vulnerable groups, including women, children, older persons, persons with disabilities, migrant workers, and displaced persons, from the impacts of the living crisis. We wish Lebanon every success in implementing the accepted recommendations and its ongoing efforts to promote the well-being and human rights of all its citizens. I thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Estonia.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Estonia welcomes the delegation of Lebanon to its 4th UPR. We commend Lebanon for its progress in strengthening the justice system. We also acknowledge the steps taken to enhance transparency and increase participation in elections, including greater political representation of women. We recommend to 1, adopt a national law prohibiting child marriage by establishing the minimum legal age of marriage at 18. 2, strengthen laws and policies to ensure effective protection against all forms of gender-based violence, including technology-facilitated gender-based violence. 3, work with all stakeholders of the digital transformation strategy towards closing the gender-digital divide. And 4, prohibit corporal punishment of children in all settings. We wish Lebanon a successful review. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Ethiopia.
Thank you, Madam President. Ethiopia warmly welcomes the distinguished high-level delegation of the Lebanon and takes it for the comprehensive national report presented to this session. Ethiopia commends Lebanon for its continued efforts towards sustainable development, human rights promotion, and constructive multilateral engagement, and encourages the country to continue this positive trajectory. In the spirit of constructive dialogue and cooperation, Ethiopia offers the following 2 recommendations to Lebanon. 1, continue strengthening and sustainably financing social protection and economic inclusion, programs to ensure long-term support for vulnerable population. 2, continue enhancing access to quality health and education services through adequate resourcing and institutional capacity building. Finally, Ethiopia warmly wishes the delegation of Lebanon every success in its constructive engagements with the UPR working group. I thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Finland.
Madam Vice President, Finland welcomes the engagement of the Republic of Lebanon in the UPR and commends the ratification of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol in June 2025. Finland recommends Lebanon 1, to officially abolish the kafala system by explicitly granting migrant workers all workers' rights. 2, to amend the nationality law to ensure that Lebanese women can pass on their citizenship to their children and spouses on an equal basis with men without delay. 3. Repeal Article 534 of the Penal Code, which is used to criminalize same-sex relations. We wish Lebanon a successful review. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on France. Thank you, Madam President. France welcomes the delegation of Lebanon and wishes it a successful UPR. We welcome Lebanon's efforts to protect refugees and recommend 1. Continuing efforts to ensure the independence of the judiciary and combat impunity, including through completing the investigation on the causes and responsibilities involved in the explosion of 4 August 2022, abolish the death penalty and ratify the second optional protocol to the ICCPR. 3. Guarantee freedom of expression, freedom of the press, adopting a specific national framework to protect journalists and the independence of the media. 4. Abolish Article 534 of the Criminal Code that criminalizes homosexuality and combat harassment and intimidation of LGBT+ persons. 5. Guarantee equality between women and men and amend Decree 15 of 1925 and the nationality law to allow Lebanese women to transmit the nationality to their children. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I call on Gabon. Thank you, President. Gabon welcomes the delegation of Lebanon and congratulates it on the presentation of the national report. We salute the courage of Lebanon, which has faced political, economic and social difficulties and moved forward. We welcome all positive measures for the return to constitutional order and for the promotion and protection of human rights. In a constructive spirit, we recommend 1. Finalize adoption of the draft law to amend the law on combating trafficking in order to establish mechanisms and procedures to protect victims and punish perpetrators. 2. Adopt the draft law amending the Labour Code to prohibit work by